everybody, it's Airy, also known as Ariel, and I am here today with a video that I have been asked about a lot, which is how do I edit my pictures. So if you follow my Instagram, which is Airy, you guys see that I posted fashion pictures to Instagram on a regular basis. So I get a lot of questions about how do you edit, especially when you're somebody who is melanin infused, chocolatey, rich. Well, I'm not necessarily chocolatey, but you get what I'm saying. Sometimes editing programs and filters and stuff like that have a tendency to make you look a little ashy, a little gray. I'm not trying to look casket sharp when I edit. My particular tips are going to be for people who have more rich golden brown all the way down to like deep chocolate brown undertones. But anybody can use them. It's just that you probably should do some of the things that I do if you're lighter complected at a smaller amount. I'm gonna go ahead and get started and show you guys how I edit a picture. First thing is I'm going to be editing my pictures on an iPad, and I do have an Apple Pencil, by the way. You can actually edit this on a phone, iPhone or Android, but I personally prefer to use the iPad because it's a bigger screen, it's easier to edit. So the two apps that I'm going to be using today are going to be Snapseed, which this is not sponsored or anything, I just love Snapseed. Going on the days of having to sit down and learn tutorials and struggle on Photoshop when there are much user-friendly apps out there that we can all use. But first, before I get started, I gotta drink my cranberry juice. Yes, I am a little old lady that likes to drink cranberry juice. It's so good. Leave a comment down below. Am I the only one that likes cranberry juice? So the picture that we're going to be editing today is a picture that I've already posted on my Instagram, already edited it. The reason why I'm choosing this particular picture is because of the fact that it is a little challenging. If you are looking at the screen down below, you will see that to me personally, because it was kind of an overcast, cloudy day, the picture looks kind of washed out. My skin tone doesn't look rich, it looks kind of gray, and so what I wanted to do with my editing is bring life back to this photo. So like I said, the first app I'm going to be using is Snapseed, and I'm going to give you the rundown on how I do things. So the first thing that I like to do is tune my image. So tuning your image is going to change a lot of different things. So I went to the three dots down here and I pressed tune image, and if you scroll up and down, I'm using the iPad pencil, you'll see there's different settings. So you can change your brightness, your contrast, saturation, ambiance, highlight, shadows, and warmth. So this is the first step of where I go. So brightness, as you see, is going to, you know, either make the picture have, I don't know the technical terms, I'm not an expert, you guys, but you know, extra bright and white or extra dark. So I say pick the level that you like. So for this particular photo, I wanted something not as bright because I feel like the brightness can add a little bit of a gray overcast. I feel like brightness is pretty decent, so I did like -10 to actually bring it down. Contrast, I personally like for my pictures to look very rich and shadow and contrast and color. Right now on Instagram, I feel like, which, you know, no shade to nobody, like do your thing, but I do feel like this really washed out California breezy, everything looks very white and highlighted and desaturated type of look is in, and I personally don't like to do that because A, I'm brown skin, I'm not trying to look you know, ashy, you know, I'm not trying, the Grow Sisters look is not what I'm trying to go for, and B, I wear a lot of bright colors. As you guys know, I'm a huge enthusiast of color, so I want my colors to look rich as well. I don't want to desaturate them. So the next thing that I do, so I put my contrast at +50 because I like a little extra shadow, and I just kind of play around. So the next thing I do is go to saturation, and I do bring it up. Now the thing about saturation is you have to be careful, because if you do too much saturation, it can make your skin look orange, which right now orange skin doesn't have a good reputation at Trump. I want to make sure that I do just enough saturation that it adds some vibrancy to my colors without making my skin tone look too orange. And you can pick where you feel like that's comfortable for you. I did +35 saturation. This dress is actually highlighter yellow, highlighter pink. So the goal is to get the photo to look like as rich as it does in real life in the photo. Cranberry juice. Now I am going to go down to highlights. So highlights are going to take the areas where you have highlights, which is like the areas that are kind of lighter, the lighter parts of your face, or where the light is shining. That's what it's going to emphasize. So it is a little different than brightness. Brightness makes the whole overall picture bright. Highlight focuses on the lighter parts of the picture and changes it. So if you go super high, as you can see, it's really gray and washed out, which I feel like this type of look is really in right now on Instagram. But again, I'm more of a golden tone, vibrant, rich person. With highlights, I tend to actually take some of it away. And so I actually did -42. Then we go to shadows, which shadows is going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's either going to make the shadows in the picture extra dark, or you can make them extra light. I actually like to add, for this particular picture, I'm going to actually take away just a teeny bit of shadow. So I'm going to see, okay, so I'm doing like +40 with the shadows, and then warmth as a nice yellowy but sometimes orange tint, so you have to be careful with how much you do. So if you do none, it's going to turn it blue, and if you do a ton of it, it's going to turn it to like this yellowy type of look. So be careful with that as well. I try to add just enough to add. You see how there's a difference? There's slight warmth to my skin, and my favorite thing about this app is that you can actually go back and see what your photograph looked like before and after. And the way you do that is by going to the top right corner, pressing this. You see the difference? It was this dull gray, lifeless kind of looking photo, and now we're at this point. There I go and press the check mark. Now you might think this is where you stop. I recently used to only do 3 steps, and then I learned some other editing tips that have completely changed the game on my editing. So I'm going to be showing you some new things I learned too, because we're always trying to learn and grow, honey. So now we're going to be doing the structure. So I feel like the structure adds a little bit more dimension to the way your colors look. I feel like it just gives extra dimension to your details, the way the colors look, the way that things kind of pop, you know what I'm saying? Like give it that extra pop. Makes it look a little more high def. So without it, things look kind of blurry and faded out. And then when you add a lot of it, it's too intense. So like I said, find a level that works best for you to give it that extra high def look. I'm gonna go with 22. Sharpening, just gonna sharpen your image, sharpen the details overall. I do about like 10. I'm gonna stop at 10. So the next thing that I like to do is work on the curves. So curves is the way for you to color correct. Now you can color correct all of your red, green, and blue at the same time, but I personally prefer to do them separately. So first we're going to correct the reds. So you can actually add a dot or a point of where you want to change wherever you want. And so with that, you have these over here, the one that's at the bottom. If you shift it up, the picture becomes really red. If you shift it all the way down, it goes into the opposite direction. The middle one does this, and then it goes to blue. And the top one will do this. So you can move them around to get to the way that you want. I wanted to add just a little bit of red just to add some warmth, but not too much, because I am more concerned about adding more yellow golden tones. But I do feel like it could just use a little bit more rosiness. But I don't want to do too much on the bottom one, because it does change the color of the shadows. And then with the one on the top, I'm actually going to not do too much to it. I think I'm actually gonna go in the opposite direction just to add a little bit of coolness. Now we're going to go to the greens. Same concept. I'm going to add a dot in the middle of the line or the curve, and it definitely does different things very similarly. So you can have a very pink tone or a super green. I am going to actually add a little bit more green because I do have a lot of green in this picture, so I want to make my greens really pop, be nice and bright. It does actually make change the color of the shadows as well. So we are going to not do too much to the shadow. Next, I am going to be working with the blue. So Same thing, I'm going to add a dot, and you can add as many dots as you want to. There's no limit. I just prefer to work with 3 because I don't really do a lot of complicated stuff. So this is where you can, surprisingly enough, add more yellow tones to your pictures is in the blue. I know, I don't understand it, but you can. So if you go this way, as you can see, it's more yellow. That way it's more blue. Same thing for the other dots. So I did want more of a golden tone, so I just dropped that curve down just a teensy bit, just a teensy bit. Then at the top here, you can go either direction. Because my dress is more of a red tone, hot pink, I want to actually remove just a little bit of the blue, just a little bit. And then I can go in either direction here. The bottom one, as you can see, I don't really mess with too much because I feel like it's just not something I really need to mess with. And it just takes some finagling and moving things around and readjusting and things like that to get it just how you want it. And then the last thing is going to be your luminance. So your luminance is going to be your lighting. As you can see, you can take a dark dreary picture like this and make it more sunny and bright. So you see how you can take the same picture and make it seem like the sun was actually out when you took it. So through editing, you can create the kind of vibe that you want. If a picture doesn't have quite the I can't talk today. The picture that you're taking, your photo shoot doesn't have quite the environment or the ambience that you want, you can actually add that and change it. So I like for it to be a little high in the luminance because I really like for my highlight to shine, because you know the highlight, it's gotta glow, honey. As you can see, it get really dark or super neon, crazy bright, which is not the look we're going for, but I am going to brighten it up just a teeny bit without making it look like it's neon. Same thing here, getting it right in just the right area. It really changes the highlight on my face, I noticed. And then here, I don't want to change too much, like I said, because I like for my shadows to look a certain way. Go. So I have a lot of rich tones. As you can see, the color is popping, is very bright. And so now the next thing I'm going to do is adjust the white balance, so you can actually change the temperature of your picture as well by doing this. So it's very potent, so I really just add like a tiny bit. I'm talking about like 3. Your tint changes the actual overall color, so you can make it more green or pink if you feel like that's necessary. I don't feel like that's necessary. I don't want green or pink. Neither one of those are my color, but I did want to add a little bit more warmth to the picture. The next thing that I use is HDR Scape. Now if you notice, HDR Scape definitely washed out some of the work that we did, but no need to worry. It is adjustable. I usually pick people because I'm a person, so why not pick people? You can do nature though as well. As you can see, nature's a little different, but it is adjustable. You have fine as well, and then you have strong, but I prefer people because it definitely puts the emphasis on you. You're the center of the attention, so why not? We're going to go to adjust, so you can change how strong the filter is. So you can have it all the way turned up or just have a little bit. I personally just like to add a little bit of this filter. I feel like it really brings out the yellow, the golden tones and the melanin. So just a little bit. And then you have brightness and sharpening again, just to brighten the overall picture, to adjust it. So for brightness, I'm gonna do -3. Saturation, I'm not going to change too much because I feel like my colors are already pretty saturated, and I don't want to oversaturate my picture and have it looking too crazy. So I think I'm going to leave that at 0. And then the last and final step that I like to do is tonal contrast. And tonal contrast to me takes your picture from looking like, I don't know, like it was taken with just like a camera, like a regular camera, to like a high def. Every detail is very like sharp and brought forward, and I really like that look. And you can change how much of the levels that you like. So right now it has high tones, mid tones, low tones, protect highlights, and protect shadows. So it definitely changes and adjusts depending on which way you go. I like for my high tones to be pretty high, so I put them at 30. My mid tones, as you can see, it's a very subtle change, but it just adds that extra high def pop to it. I like it at about 30 as well. I usually keep them around the same level. Low tones, I think I'm going to go for 30. 33. That's why I like it. As you notice, all of mine are in the 30 range. And you know, it just takes some experimentation to figure out where you like yours to be. And then Protect Highlights. I don't really use this as much because all it does is add a slight gray tone to your shadows. If you want to lighten your shadows, you can. So now we are done. I am satisfied with how all of this looks. So the next thing I like to do is go to FaceTune 2. So as you know, everybody uses FaceTune. Yes, I edit my pictures. No shame in my game. I do. But I have certain rules that I hold myself to. It's just that, you know, certain things I want to be emphasized or don't be emphasized, or certain accessories I want to have extra detail. I feel like the texture isn't being brought forth enough. I don't edit them to the point that I look like a different person. And I don't like editing my photos in the sense of changing the shape of things. So I don't change the shape of my body or anything on my nose or anything like that. The shape I have is the shape you're gonna get. But I do like to smooth out certain blemishes and things like that from time to time. I am going to smooth. So the first thing I do is go to retouch, zoomed in really far, and I'm going to smooth it out. So I don't know if it's just me, but allergy season has got my skin looking crazy. I usually don't get a lot of little fine bumps, but this pollen has got my skin breaking out. So I'm actually going to smooth it out just a little bit. No shame in my game. And I also smooth out a little bit on the neck area, just a little bit. Personally, do a little bit of blending on my hands because I'm a smaller frame person, and so you can see the veins in my hand. I don't really like that. I know that's not that big of a deal. I'm not self-conscious about it. It's just I feel like it's really noticeable in pictures, so sometimes I do blend that out. And then this hand is blurry. Apparently I was doing something, so we're not even gonna worry about the blurry one. So the next thing that I like to do is go to details. And I do have the free version of FaceTune, so there's certain things that I can't use, and I do plan on paying for it soon because FaceTune is a godsend. So as you can see, I have this super bright highlight on my cheek. Sometimes with highlights, I'll go to certain parts and add an extra little pop of it. So I add an extra little pop of it, and you can brighten it or make it as dark as you want. I like for my highlight to be, you need to see it from outer space. Like, that's the kind of highlight I like to have. I add an extra pop there. Sometimes I'll go in and add some detail to my eyes or my eyelashes, certain highlights on my face, like the high points. I love, this is my favorite thing, adding detail to the jewelry. Adding detail to the jewelry definitely makes it pop and stand out more. I do the same thing for any other accessories. So my belt, the gold studs, I actually go over them to give them some extra detail. And then I like to go over my clutch, because this clutch was a crocodile print or crocodile skin, but not real. So I want it to seem a little bit more raised, more detailed. One other thing that I like to do is emphasize the highlights that are in it, in my skin. So I'll actually go to paint, and I'll pick the picker, and I'll pick the highest point of my face that has a nice bright look. Go to skin. Now the thing about editing this is that the closer you are, the mark is more like straight and like harsh and opaque. When you're further away, it kind of softens out like an airbrush look. So it just depends on what you want to do. So for this, I want to blend out that highlight that is around my skin so it doesn't just like a white circle. I do kind of want it to be a little bit more smooth and gradient. So I am going to add a little bit, just little details that nobody else would notice but me, because I'm a perfectionist. I add some white highlight, and I do add a little under my eyebrows because I don't want my eyebrows to disappear in this photo. I actually add some to my nose because I did have highlight in my nose and my inner corner, on the top of my lip, and there you go. I do that as a second layer because the thing with paint is that all of your layers are adjusted at the same time. So if I want it to be super bright and highlighted, then I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to open up paint again and do another layer for this because I don't need this to be as bright. And you guys will see what I'm talking about in a little bit. So go back to picker, pick your high point, go back to skin. So for this, if it was at full intensity, it would just be this white line sitting on my skin, and that's not what you want. So I am going to pick some places. So right here around my neck, around my shoulder, this little part right here, this area, just places that I feel like I just want the highlight to pop just a teeny bit more. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I will go into the ears and things like that, add some extra highlight. So with all of that complete, all I do now is save this to my camera roll. Yes, it went from this gray tone look to this nice bright popping. So the highlights are there. The highlighted colors that I'm wearing are more rich and intoned, and I love it. So we went from this original design, from the original one, which is this gray washed out look, and now we have this. So the reason why I like to do this, like I said, is because I was wearing highlighted colors. I looked at the picture, saw the potential, because a lot of pictures have good potential. You just need to put in the work to add some editing. So I hope you guys enjoyed my tutorial on how I edit my photos. I hope it was very helpful. I hope it was very brown girl friendly, but like I said, anybody can use this. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Make sure you share it so we can get all the brown girls of the world editing their pictures and making their skin look beautiful and rich. Make sure that you hit that notification bell down there. Become a part of the notification bell squad so you guys know when I come out with a new video, because do y'all want to be missing out on this? Like, really? Y'all know y'all want to see my video. You guys make sure you have a great day, and thanks for watching.